Unmute button. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Here there be liberty. We're glad to have you here. You feeling all right? Did everybody enjoy the eclipse yesterday? I was sleeping. That's what we call nap time at the Peterson house here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just underwhelmed. I know that we're supposed to be all excited about it. I heard some guy actually got in an airplane and flew from Washington State to Indiana just to see the eclipse. Okay, it happens once every, 13 years or so? But the thing is that it's special because normally whenever an eclipse happens, it goes over like the jungles of Myanmar, right? Or it goes over unpopulated, the Gobi Desert. And so the fact that it went over the United States so everybody could see it where people live, okay, it's exciting. I don't know why everybody got so excited about it. I've seen an eclipse. Let me tell you, I know eclipses. This was no eclipse. You had to drive to Poplar Bluff, Missouri if you wanted to go and see the full eclipse, right? It was only partial eclipse where I live, right? Speaking of Poplar Bluff, Scott Fawn will be joining us today at 8:30 a.m. Central. The former mayor of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. He's going to break down the tightening polls between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's going to be an interesting interview. He's going to be here on set. He is, of course, the benefactor of the Wake Up America show and helping us to be hosted in this studio. So we appreciate Scott Fawn for that. So since we're introducing our guests backwards in the order in which they appear at 8 a.m. Central Time, we're going to hear from Camellia Peterson to talk about Donald Trump's abortion federalism. Yes, Donald Trump came out in a statement on Truth Social and said that he believes that abortions should be a states' rights issue, and conservatives panicked. No.
No, God, please, no!
Donald Trump taking a position on abortion that conservatives were taking 5 years ago. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to hear from Camellia Peterson. She's got her insights to share on that, and it will be a great discussion, yes, because, of course, when the anti-abortion industry, which it is an industry, and as a pro-life person, I can say that I know from the ground up that a lot of these organizations, they exist to create jobs for conservatives. So once abortion is actually done away with, they needed to continue to do things, right? But they needed to continue to send out mailers and fundraisers, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll hear from Camellia Peterson about that at 8 a.m. Central Time. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Well, maybe you'll agree with me. But they want to make it a federal ban on abortion. Murder is a state's issue, in my opinion. I'm tired of the grifters. Whether they're abortion grifters, anti-abortion grifters, I'm just tired of grifters in general, right? And pick a lane and stick with it, right? Do you believe what you believe, or are you just trying to fundraise off of boomers who are so credulous that they're willing to give you the last dime that they have on top of their refrigerator so you can continue to send out mailers? Okay. We'll talk at 7:30 a.m. So you already got my opinion. At 7:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to hear from Devon Erickson, another fellow Dane. He's got that S-E-N, Erickson. Devon Erickson, he is another libertarian. He's a science fiction author. And a post that he made on X the other day just really made me smile and laugh. While I have been enjoying seeing JK Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter books, sort of coming over to the conservative libertarian side when it comes to the trans issue, because she's being canceled by the left because she refuses to say that a woman is not a woman, but a woman is a hairy man who says he's a woman. So I've been laughing. I've been enjoying it. And you're kind of like I've been enjoying Bill Maher saying more conservative things these days lately. I'm kind of like, yeah, this is fun. This is enjoyable to me. But Devon Erickson has a little bit of a different take. He's enjoying seeing JK Rowling being hoisted by her own petard, which is a Shakespeare reference, by the way, which means that to be blown up by your own cannon. Essentially, the joke was from Shakespeare that you would sit on a cannon that you made of your own creation, and then it would blow you up and it would hoist you in the air. That's what hoisted by your own petard means. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. This is Shakespeare. This Wake Up America show at Shakespeare. And for a little Shakespeare in the morning, why don't you shake your moneymaker and press that like button over there in the stream? Can you help me, please, sir, money wise?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
The Wake Up America show's bonus content continues this week. Yes, with the guns that won. The guns that won. The guns that won. So if you would like to unlock today's bonus content, can you bless me with something, please? If you send in at least $50 of Rumble Rants or make a purchase at apforlibertyshop.com within the 2-hour period of the live show, then you will unlock today's bonus content, the guns that won, continuing the theme from last week. There were too many guns that won to help build the American Republic. And I know that you guys are going to love today's. I mean, I know you've been enjoying all of the bonus content. Today's is extra special. I actually have one of today's guns that won, and I'll leave it up to you to find out which it is. So get those Rumble Rant donations in nice and early because the guests are going to be flying fast and furious. We got 3 guests today. I'm not going to have a lot of time to plug it. So if you've been thinking about making a purchase, like buying some more Founding Flavors coffee, today's the day to do it. Head over to apforlibertyshop.com and bless me with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Please.
Oh, gosh.
Money wise.
Money wise. Over at apforlibertyshop.com. Let's have some fun. We've got a lot to talk about. And the first thing that we have to hit on the list today is, speaking of the eclipse, and then we'll move on. The View host yesterday. You know what, Austin? I'm just going to sit back and let you just enjoy
those things together would maybe lead one to believe that, either climate change exists or something is returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground.
No,
I don't think
it happens. And the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Those things together.
Pause. So Sonny Hostin is saying that the eclipse and the earthquakes are due to climate change. She actually gets corrected by her fellow females on the show. Funny shit.
Would maybe lead one to believe that, either climate change exists or something is returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground.
Dude, with Joy Behar as voice of reason, you done messed up. I see you guys today are guessing at what the bonus content will be. You can guess all day long. You can say the Garand. You can say the AR-15 like Robbie did last week, except it turns out he was right when he guessed that. Maybe Bitchmobile is right, but there's only one way to find out, and that is to bless me with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh.
Money wise.
By getting those Rumble Rants in or buying at apforlibertyshop.com. But anyways, when Joy Behar is the voice of reason, you messed up. And then Whoopi Goldberg stepping in too.
It happens. And the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Those things together.
Funny stuff. If you've got an opinion you'd like to have registered on the show today and have me read it out live, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. 50 Cent weighed in on the eclipse yesterday with a little video that if you're listening to the audio version later, you don't get to enjoy quite as much. So take a look at your screens, ladies and gents, of this video that 50 Cent posted about the about the eclipse yesterday. Oh, very funny stuff. We appreciate that. Thank you, 50 Cent. You're the man. Go shorty. It's your birthday. Go shorty. It's your birthday. Do, 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 do. If you'd like to have your voice heard on the show today, send in a text at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are 573-319-1586. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. But again, if you're listening to the audio version later, and it's not live, you may think, I can't text Austin. The show's not live right now. It won't matter. It does matter. I read your text messages. For those of you who text the show, some of you are texting me on the weekends, and I replied, don't I? Aren't I amazing? I'm always thinking about you. When I'm not thinking about my sweet, smoking hot, redheaded, libertarian, sexy wife, pregnant wifey, my upcoming little baby, my first child, I'm thinking about you, the audience of the Wake Up America show, and I'm glad to have you here. So think about me for just a moment. Bless me with something, perhaps a like and a follow on the channel. All right, let's talk about the big news. It's a big, big payoff. The Biden administration is proposing a sweeping initiative to slash student debt. I feel like we've seen this somewhere before. For 30 million Americans, of course, the Republicans are planning to sue, but a new proposal is part of the White House efforts to appeal to progressives. Joe Biden has actually been shown in certain polls recently to be losing the youth vote, young voters, several months before the November election. Bad timing for that. Not that the young people typically vote in record numbers, although they do say that in 2020 that young people did show up to vote in record numbers. So Joe Biden's doing his best to buy them votes. Now, the polls show that President Biden is trailing his Republican opponent, Donald Trump, and he's underperforming among adults under age 30, which is interesting because part of this student loan payoff includes people who have not made student payments on their student loans for 20 years. Biden said during a speech on Monday, while a college degree is still a ticket to the middle class, that ticket is becoming much too expensive. Today, too many Americans, especially young people, are saddled with unsustainable debts in exchange for a college degree. Let me explain something to you about why our college tuition is getting so expensive. When you make promises and when you fulfill those promises to pay off people's student loans, what do you think that they do in the college tuition office if they know that they're going to get a guaranteed source of revenue from the federal government? They're going to raise prices. Anybody would do something like that in an environment. These people, these politicians, they have no business mindset. They don't understand what it is that is the root cause of the problems. And he doesn't even seek to address the root problems. It's not even like when Ronald Reagan passed his huge sweeping immigration bill that created amnesty for millions of illegal aliens at the time. It actually had proposals in that bill to deal with the problems of illegal immigration at that time. Joe Biden doesn't even do that. It's just a cash grab and a transfer of money from the productive class to the unproductive class of people who are deadbeats that don't pay off their student loans. Can I get an amen? Now, obviously, Republican attorney generals are out there talking about how they're going to take him to court. They led a successful effort to overturn Biden's earlier plan. Biden's earlier plan was to try and forgive $20,000 in student loan debt for borrowers who were making $125,000 or less a year. But the Supreme Court already ruled that Biden had overstepped his authority in doing this. But now the experts are out running cover for the Biden administration, saying that this new effort could be on firmer legal ground, right? At the center of this new effort is a proposal to help borrowers whose student debt has ballooned larger than their initial loan principal because of accruing interest. The administration is proposing to cancel up to $20,000 in interest charges. Individual borrowers who earn $120,000 or less and married couples who make $240,000 or less are eligible for forgiveness of the entire amount that their loan balance has increased beyond the principal. So what we're talking about here is essentially getting rid of their interest payments, which is how the banks make money. Which is, God, listen, these banks are obviously predatory, but these student loan programs are predatory. Here's the thing, why don't they take the money instead of taking it from the taxpayers, why don't they take it from the colleges? A lot of these universities are quite wealthy with massive endowments. They're the ones who talk the students into getting the loans. They're the ones who are profiting from all of this. Why is it always the evil banks that have got to Good morning to the Salty Sabo joining us live this morning. Nice to see you, brother. I always love seeing a new name and a face in the chat. Whenever I see new names and faces, I always love to greet them. Thank you very much for joining us here live on the Wake Up America show, Salty. We appreciate you very much. Looks like James has decided to unlock the bonus content for you nice and early. Ooh. What's up, James? Everybody loves you. Did you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
What?
Thanks very much for watching the Wake Up America show and participating in the bonus content program. You have unlocked the bonus content. I know you're all very excited. Yes. Have you blessed me with something, please? Yes, in about 12 minutes from now, we're going to hear from our buddy Devon Erickson, his very first time on the show. He's going to talk to us about JK Rowling being hoisted by her own petard. He thinks it's quite funny that JK Rowling is getting canceled. Rowling? Getting canceled by the left? I don't know. It's British or Scottish. Somebody tweeted, Blake Wharton says, Easter was over a week ago, Austin. You can stop dressing like an Easter egg. JK, keep up the good work. Thanks, Blake. Lol. So, yeah, I kind of feel like the shirts are kind of part of the show. Am I right? You know? I would think that you guys would enjoy this. So much more. You know what I should do? You know, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to change all the graphics of the show. We're getting rid of the synthwave vibe. We're getting rid of all the beautiful, flashy graphics on the side. We're getting rid of that logo that looks like a rooster with the beautiful kind of like baseball style text. We're getting rid of all of the pink and yellows, and we're getting rid of all the neon. And I'm going to start wearing a suit every single day. What do you guys think? I'm going to start. This is going to be the. No, that's it. I'm done.
God, please,
We're going full Newsmax,
No.
baby. Okay, suit and tie. I'm gonna wear a red tie with a blue suit every single day. And I'm gonna get my teeth whitened, nice and bright. And I'm gonna I'm gonna get like a hairpiece to make it look like I've got more hair. And I'm gonna be like doing this in the camera all day and stuff like that. We're going Newsmax, baby. What do you say?
How dare you?
What do you think? Should we do it? Huh? What? Okay, fine. We're going to continue to have fun. Wake Up America show is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a little loud. It's supposed to be a little wild. It's supposed to be a little weird. I think that you guys love it. Not only do we have an amazing wardrobe for this show, but we've also got a really great soundboard, which is fun and funny, right?
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm going to come.
That's what makes the Wake Up America show fun. Do us a solid and click that like button. If it's your first time watching the show today, make sure that you follow the channel as well. We'd love to have you come back and join us. The show's schedule is every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Again, that's Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Put us on your calendar and join us on the regs. All right, I'm going to read this post to you that Devon Erickson made. It's a little bit of a long post. It's about a page long here, and then I'm going to play the bonus content for you while I go get Devon Erickson to chat about it on this show. He's a fellow libertarian and a science fiction author. We're going to hear from him today. He's got a brand new book out. Looking forward to sharing that with you. Here's what Devon said. I'm looking forward to chatting with him about this. He says, it's been kind of amusing from a distance to watch JK Rowling melt down over men in dresses invading women's private spaces. She still doesn't get it. She doesn't understand that first they came for the men. Only then, much later, did they come for the women. She didn't understand that trans women are simply doing to women what feminists did to men decades earlier. First, feminists demanded inclusion in men's private unisex environments. Then they demanded that those spaces be changed to suit them. Then they demanded that no male-only spaces exist anywhere. Boys raised without any spaces or groups for boys. And the cosmic irony of all this is that a large part of the reason is that this is a large part of the reason why trans women exist in the first place. Boys are raised without any spaces or groups for boys. raised without any acknowledgement or accommodation for the sex-specific needs of boys, boys raised solely by women in environments designed for girls, treated as defective girls, medicated into insensibility with modified methamphetamine if they dare to act like boys, and then told from an age far too young for psychological self-defense that men are responsible for all the world's ills and girls are wonderful and can do no wrong and can do everything they can do, backwards and in heels. And still, Rowling is surprised when some of them grow up wanting to be girls and move into the women-only spaces, which were never abolished when the men-only spaces were. She was smart enough to write a really good series of children's books, but not smart enough to understand the high-order consequences of her own ideology. It's so incredibly mind-bendingly delicious to watch. This feminist apocalypse is the result of a chain of events that feminists themselves set in motion, using the same tactics and arguments against them that they used against men. They are being punished not only for their sins, but by their sins. This would all be great, except for the niggling little detail that not all women are feminists. There are a great many women who never went along with the insanity, but are nevertheless being hit just as hard by the effects. That's not so funny. I agree. Worse yet, men have very little incentive to lift a finger to help them, since almost no one, man or woman, did a thing for them when they were little boys being attacked from every angle by adult feminists. If you make women into a privileged class, if you make women's preferences into your society's moral standards, if you tilt the playing field for the express purpose of making women exceed men in every measure of health, wealth, and social respect, if you strip your society's art and culture of any image or aspect of positive masculinity, then men will grow up wanting to be women. Okay, let's hear from Devon Erickson about that when we get back. You have unlocked the bonus content. God bless you. You've blessed me with something, money-wise. So enjoy today's episode of The Guns That Won on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America Show's bonus content series, The Guns That Won. We look at the firearms that built the American Republic. Today's gun highlights the history of the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand, an iconic American invention, traces its roots back to 1888 when Hiram Maxim invented the machine gun, inspiring arms designers worldwide. The challenge of adapting autoloading for rifles due to the powerful cartridges led to a long journey of innovation. After World War I, the U.S. Army sought a reliable autoloading infantry rifle, a quest that proved difficult as many designs either failed under stress or were impractically heavy. This period of trial and error highlighted the need for a durable yet manageable weapon. John Cantius Garand, a Canadian-born inventor, emerged with a promising design. Employed by the Springfield Armory, he embarked on developing a rifle that used propellant gases for cycling, a concept that would revolutionize infantry rifles. Garand's innovative design was adopted by the U.S. Army in 1936, marking the beginning of the M1 Garand era. Springfield Armory commenced mass production in 1937, delivering the first batch of rifles in 1938, refining the design in the process. With the onset of World War II and growing global tensions, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company joined Springfield Armory in producing the M1 Garand. Their combined efforts ensured a steady supply of rifles to U.S. forces, contributing significantly to the war effort. By the war's end in 1945, over 4 million M1 rifles had been produced. The United States stood out for equipping its troops with an autoloading rifle as the standard infantry weapon, a strategic advantage praised by General George Patton. Post-World War II, the M1 Garand saw continued use. Many were stored or loaned to allies during the Cold War. The outbreak of the Korean War led to a resurgence in production to support U.S. and United Nations forces. The Korean War underscored the M1 Garand's reliability, with nearly 1.5 million new units produced by Springfield Armory, International Harvester Corporation, and Harrington and Richardson Arms between 1952 and 1957. In the 1950s, the search for a more advanced infantry rifle began, aiming for greater magazine capacity and selective fire capability. This led to the adoption of the M14 rifle in 1957, signaling the official obsolescence of the M1 Garand. Despite being surpassed by the M14, the M1 Garand remained in service globally through the Vietnam era, a testament to its enduring legacy and effectiveness as an infantry weapon. John C. Garand, the inventor of the M1, is celebrated for his contribution to military history. His work not only provided the U.S. forces with a significant advantage, but also solidified his place among the nation's most esteemed patriots. The M1 Garand's impact on military engagements and its innovative design have earned it the title of the #1 infantry rifle of all time, according to a 2008 article in NRA's American Rifleman magazine, a fitting tribute to a weapon that changed the course of history.
Good morning, everyone. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Did you guys enjoy that bonus content? You guys already guessed which it was. This week's bonus content theme, the guns that won. And we just played our mini documentary, the M1 Garand. Ping! I knew you guys were going to love it. Why were you guys so good at guessing what it was going to be? Maybe it's just because I'm running out of all of the amazing guns that helped build the American Republic. There's still a few left, right? So go out throughout the rest of the week, so maybe you guys won't be able to guess tomorrow. But thank you for unlocking that bonus content, and thanks for supporting the show. Don't forget to click that like button and follow the channel if it's your very first time here joining the show. Well, many of you were asking who it was that had written that lovely piece about JK Rowling before we went to the little mini documentary. So I have some good news for you if you really enjoyed that. That was actually written by my next guest. His name is Devin Erickson, and he is the author of the science fiction book, Theft of Fire. He's joining us live right now. Good morning, Devin.
Good morning.
Glad to have you
Thank you for
here.
having me on.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Devin. I've been reading your tweets for the past day. Boy, you've really caught fire over at x.com with some of your takes. And it seems that you and I appear to we're cut from the same ideological cloth. So you're definitely amongst friends here on the Wake Up America show, where we cherish liberty and limited government. But when it comes to the cultural issues, the question is, how does a libertarian get involved in the culture war, if you will? Is it important? I think the answer is yes. It seems that you would likely agree with your recent take on JK Rowling. Here's my question. I've been enjoying seeing her taking more what you might consider conservative or libertarian takes when it comes to trans women and men's sports, and her takes on biological females. But you seem to not be thinking, oh, it's great that she's joining our side, so much as you're sort of enjoying maybe a little bit of Schadenfreude here, or seeing her hoisted by her own petard. Can you explain your take on the JK Rowling situation for us?
Yeah, well, as a science fiction writer, sort of my job is to speculate about the future, is sort of what's going to happen if we build this technology, what's going to happen if we build that technology, what is the future going to be like? And so we tend to sort of think ahead of these kinds of technological and social trends. And, one of the things that I notice is that a lot of people who are advocates don't really think about the second and third order effects of what they're doing. Essentially, they throw something sharp and heavy up in the air, and then they're surprised that their head is bleeding and it hurts so much. And so that's more or less what is starting to happen with feminism. Because as I laid out, a lot of the things that are happening to women now, which they do not like very much, are a consequence of some of the things that the feminists started doing in the 70s. And that has these sort of second, third order, higher order effects that have this kind of fallout. And it's actually very nice to see, because oftentimes social ills will only get addressed when they start to harm women. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you were the ones who said that gender is a social construct and we need to start treating men and women the same. And this was your way of insisting that all the rewards of the responsibilities of masculinity were actually male privileges, so you should just have them. And now, okay, well, that works in reverse too, and men are putting on dresses and insisting that they be given all the rewards of femininity. So it's good to see, but that doesn't make the feminists who are now noticing that they're being hurt by this our friends, because they still have the same agenda. So the way I put it is that TERFs and wokies both hate me. So why would I do anything but eat popcorn and laugh as they fight each other?
Yeah, I keep getting a lot of my friends on the right, my lady friends who are on the right, will tell me things like, we need men to step up. We need men to step up in this fight, and we need more men to stop it. These men are going out there, they're injuring these women out in the soccer fields. And I just say, absolutely not. I'm not getting canceled for you. I'm not losing my job or my revenue or my income for you. I'm certainly not going to go out and fight in front of a school board just so that you can throw me to the wolves later. Because feminism is not an exclusively liberal ideology. There are plenty of feminists on the right who are happy to circle the wagons as soon as it comes time to pay for child support, aren't there, Devin?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that a lot of conservative women did when feminism started dominating the social discourse was they barred their doors, they homeschooled their sons, they stayed faithful and respectful to their husbands, and essentially what they did was circle the wagons and leave millions upon millions of little boys in the darkness outside. And now those little boys have grown up broken and they are doing things. And they say, hey, we weren't the problem. Well, yes, but you did nothing to stop the problem. And again, they may not realize that in these kinds of arguments, in these kinds of political arguments, their voices, on account of being women and being so much able to garner more sympathy, their voices are louder and they are more powerful in these kinds of discussions than men are.
Yeah, on the one hand, Devin, they'll say, well, we need men to step up and take leadership roles. And then on the other hand, they say, we need fewer male voices in this space. We need more women on the corporate boards, et cetera, et cetera. For those who might just be tuning in to the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to author Devin Erickson. He's a science fiction author, and his new book is Theft of Fire. He's joining us live right now, talking a little bit about JK Rowling being canceled by the left. Now, in your piece, or I guess your tweet over on X, you had posted that JK Rowling, even though she's waking up to what the monster is that the left has become, you say that she still doesn't get it. Why do you say that?
Yeah. Well, she doesn't understand that this is a consequence of a movement that she supported and participated in. And, these men in dresses are simply doing to women what feminists did to men. So, in a sense, feminists are being punished not only for their sins, but actually being punished by their sins. And, because they abolish the principle that the sexes are different and you treat them different. And now you say gender is a social construct. And now you have no defense when somebody puts on a dress and says, I am a woman. And that's the part she still doesn't understand, is that what is being done to her with certain tactics is simply what she did to men with the same tactics, coming along for their spaces that were organized their way to cater to them and saying, there is value here. You must let us in. You have no right to keep us out. Where the men were saying, we built this space. It serves our needs. It keeps us safe. It helps us grow. And this is the same argument that is being held today. And the only difference now, the only reason she's objecting is that is now happening to her.
Yes, exactly. Once she is being socially ostracized and being pushed down the pecking order, then all of a sudden, so things need to change. One of my favorite little thought experiments I like to engage in with some of my conservative and libertarian female friends is to ask them if they would prefer equality or special treatment slash chivalry. They will almost always answer that if they had to choose, they would prefer equality, although, of course, they would rather have their cake and eat it too in such a situation. But then, of course, I followed up with a question like, so if we're on the Titanic and it's going down, you're not running for the lifeboats, you're not tying your hair up into pigtails, you're not running for the exits. Because the truth is that what it seems feminism has made is it wants to grant rights without the accompanying responsibilities that come with those rights. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, I think that rights is maybe the wrong word to use. I think that what we have is we have sort of rights that everybody has, such as you have property rights and so forth, and we honor those for both sexes.
Well, I would
But
say
then,
pause for just a moment, Devin.
yeah,
I would say in the context of perhaps voting and then being
uh-huh.
required to register for the selective service.
Yeah. But then you have certain responsibilities which have rewards. And when you start pointing at men and saying the rewards for fulfilling your responsibilities are, are not really rewards at all. They're not a payoff. They're just little perks that you get because you're favored for being male, and we deserve those too. It's it's a bit like you build a house, you build a kitchen, you start cooking some food, and then somebody shows up and knocks on the door and says, "When's dinner?" Men had an awful lot of things when there was a division between sex roles because men built those things. All of these male only golf clubs where business was supposedly discussed. Well, it was business involving the businesses that those men had built, and it was business involving the money that they had earned. So why are they obligated to include others in what they have built unless they want to?
Devin, you say that men have very little incentive to help women with these problems, to help people like JK Rowling. Why is that?
I don't feel that there's a lot of reciprocity because, what is happening to women now was happening to men 40, 50 years earlier. And, I shouldn't just say men, I should say like little boys, like 6-year-old children. Like, you no longer have male spaces for them. They can no longer be raised in the way that men are supposed to be raised. They are being put in institutional government schools run by women, expected to act like little girls, dosed with methamphetamine if they dare to act like boys. And then, they 40 years later, 30 years later, they become adults, and women come along and say, help us, our private spaces are being violated. And the answer is like, well, where was your movement when these were little boys and the feminists were attacking them? Where were you then?
So one of the things I'm noticing in the chat is, of course, not everybody is agreeing with us, and they're saying
Oh yeah.
things like, "Listen to the men whining. If men had had any balls in the first place, we wouldn't have been in this situation." How would you respond to this female shaming tactic
Well,
being
I
thrown at you?
wouldn't. I wouldn't, because I no longer care what you think. I no longer care what you think. When you say, oh, you are whining, you are whining, you are a weak male, it's like what you're essentially saying is agree with me or I will withhold my good opinion from you. Well, I don't want your good opinion. It does nothing for me. It doesn't profit me at all. I'm not scared of you disapproving of me. I don't need your approval. You do nothing for me. You are useless to me. Go ahead and disapprove. Bye.
Same thing. I could give a crap. But when it comes to the question of females competing against biological males in sports, I'm conflicted, Devin. I'm getting ready to have my first child, and it's going to be a girl. And I'm thinking about a scenario where she wants to play soccer, and she's getting her skull crushed by a biological male on the field. On one hand, Devin, I don't think that I think it's ridiculous and dangerous to have this situation. On the other hand, part of me thinks that democracy is the theory that the common man deserves what he wants, gets what he deserves, good and hard in some sense. Like,
Well,
what's your take on the whole? Should we allow it to happen, and then finally the women will cry out after their daughters have just a streak of blood has been left on the pitches, the soccer
well,
fields? How should we deal with this?
the real tragedy here is that democracy is sort of collectivist. So it doesn't make people get what they deserve. It makes individual people get what everybody deserves. So what's happening to women is what feminists deserve. And you notice that these two terms, women and feminists, are not synonymous. So, the feminists threw something sharp and heavy up in the air, and it's landing on a lot of people who are not personally responsible for what happened. It's landing on women who never agreed with this. It's landing on not on them, but on their daughters and granddaughters. And that's maybe one of the flaws in democracy, is that you have this situation where, three wolves and a sheep are voting on what's for dinner. So obviously, when you set collective policy at the highest levels, even if you set it democratically, there's going to be a lot of splash damage, and a lot of innocent people will get hurt, and that is tragic. And the schadenfreude of watching feminists get what they deserve doesn't take anything away from that. You can feel these two feelings simultaneously. But at the same point, the only way that anything is going to change is if women start saying, hey, this is hurting me. Because when men say, hey, this is hurting me, we hear a lot of clucking about how someone is whining and being weak. We just heard it here on a very conservative show. It's reflexive, it's instinctive. Women have contempt for weak men. And any man who complains, regardless of whether he's complaining on behalf of himself or lots of little boys, is seen as weak. So the only way we can get past this and start to get the general population to listen is if women start saying, hey, ow, I'm hurting. So it's tragic that it happens to innocent people, but it happening to innocent people and people noticing that is the only way that we're going to get some momentum on this issue.
This is good stuff. I'm speaking to author Devin Erickson. He's a science fiction author of the new book series, Theft of Fire, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, I'd like to ask you to do us a solid. Click that like button if you're enjoying that content that you're hearing today. And if you'd like to come back and join us The Wake Up America show streams live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So click the follow button over there on Rumble and come back and join us regularly so you can hear more great interviews like the one you're hearing right now. Devin, I've got your book pulled up on the screen here, Theft of Fire, Orbital Space. You're getting rave reviews over at Amazon.com. We got the picture pulled up there so people who can see it and want to grab a copy can do so. Tell us a little bit about your latest novel.
Well, I missed the science fiction we used to have back in the 80s, where it was hopeful, it was about the future, it was about what possibilities existed for humanity as we advanced as a species. And, it wasn't an exercise in post-apocalyptic despair or a political lecture. And I saw less and less of that as the publishing industry became more and more ideologically captured. And so eventually I just sat down, rolled up my sleeves, and said, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. And in the hopes, because this is my first novel, in fact, this is launching my career as an author. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no familiarity with the publishing industry. I just sat down and said, I'm going to write what I want to read, and I hope maybe somebody else might feel the way I do. Well, turns out they did, because things have gone viral, and I'm up for a Prometheus Award, and we're starting the audio book now, and people are talking about bringing it to the screen, and working on the sequel, and lots of exciting things are happening.
It's very exciting.
So,
my buddy Mighty Megatron over the chat says, nice, let me pick that up. Yeah, and you can get that at Amazon.com. And I assume you have a website. Looks like DevinErickson.com. So just spelled exactly like your name, which I have up on the screen as well. Is that your website?
Yeah, and if people are curious if they're going to like my writing style, there's a 3-chapter sample on the website so they can find out what they're getting into.
For sure. And if you like the conversation that we had today, then you definitely want to check out more of his tweets over on X. I did link it in the show notes. So if you'd like to follow him over at X, you can do so. Just check me out over at X, and I've got him all linked up over there. His new book, Theft of Fire, not a dystopian hellscape of communist lecturing. It sounds like something more along the lines of Robert Heinlein or some of the other great science fiction novelists of our ideological ilk. Something positive and optimistic, more like Star Trek Next Generation kind of stuff. Devin Erickson, his website is DevinErickson.com. Anything else you'd like to hit before we go?
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for having me on, and I look forward to seeing the reactions.
I do as well. Best of luck with your book. My brother Justin just DM'd me, says, Devin Erickson is brilliant. He's spot on. He says, this is what Glover, another author, was talking about in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. We're not mean guys, but we're not nice guys either. We're just no longer going to be pushovers for the feminazis of the world. Devin, thank you very much for your time.
Useful idiots.
Yeah, exactly. No longer useful idiots. We appreciate you. Come back soon and talk about all your work, and congratulations on the success of your book. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. What did you guys think of Devin Erickson? It's always nice to see and get introduced to all these new names and faces. You know what I'm doing when I'm not, doing some personal stuff? I'm trying to find amazing guests and topics and authors and people to introduce you to so that I can enrich your life culturally. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Is it too much to ask? Please, sir, can you bless me, please?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
Head on over to AP, APforLibertyShop.com.
Do not come. Do not come.
Do not come.
I'm gonna come
to the AP for Liberty shop. That's right, baby. Head on over to AP4LibertyShop.com. That's AP, the number 4. Head over to AP4LibertyShop.com. Get yourself some awesome Founding Flavors coffee. I'm drinking Thomas's Painkiller this morning. Let me tell you, when I lurched into the studio this morning at 5:30 a.m., I was just like, do not come. Do not come. But then Once I had my first drink of Thomas's painkiller coffee, I'm gonna come. Oh. It's the Wake Up America show. I'm going to come and bring you the absolute best guests and topics that you can get. All right, Camelia Peterson's going to join us live in a little bit more than 5 to talk about this topic. Mr. President, what say ye about abortion?
Under my leadership, the Republican Party will always support the creation of strong, thriving, and healthy American families. We want to make it easier for mothers and families to have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro-life Americans, I strongly support the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby. What could be more beautiful or better than that? Today, I'm pleased that the Alabama legislature has acted very quickly and passed legislation that preserves the availability of IVF in Alabama. They really did a great and fast job. The Republican Party should always be on the side of the miracle of life and the side of mothers, father, their beautiful babies, and that's what we are. IVF is an important part of that, and our great Republican Party will always be with you in your quest for the ultimate joy in life. Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people. I want to thank the 6 justices, Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, incredible people, for having the courage to allow this long-term, hard-fought battle to finally end. This 50-year battle over Roe v. Wade took it out of the federal hands and brought it into the hearts, minds, and vote of the people in each state. It was really something. Now it's up to the states to do the right thing. Like Ronald Reagan, I am strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You must follow your heart on this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently, and very sadly, a nation in decline. Our nation needs help. It needs unity. It needs us all to work closely together. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, everyone, we have to work together. We have to bring our nation back from the brink, and that's where it is. It's at the brink, and we will. We will do it. I promise you, we will do it.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll hear from Camelia Peterson on that topic. Since you all unlocked the bonus content today, you get to view it again. For those who might have missed it a little bit earlier, enjoy the bonus history mini documentary, The Guns That Won. Today's special episode, the M1 Garand. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America Show's bonus content series, The Guns That Won. We look at the firearms that built the American Republic. Today's gun highlights the history of the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand, an iconic American invention, traces its roots back to 1888 when Hiram Maxim invented the machine gun, inspiring arms designers worldwide. The challenge of adapting autoloading for rifles due to the powerful cartridges led to a long journey of innovation. After World War I, the U.S. Army sought a reliable autoloading infantry rifle, a quest that proved difficult as many designs either failed under stress or were impractically heavy. This period of trial and error highlighted the need for a durable yet manageable weapon. John Cantius Garand, a Canadian-born inventor, emerged with a promising design. Employed by the Springfield Armory, he embarked on developing a rifle that used propellant gases for cycling, a concept that would revolutionize infantry rifles. Garand's innovative design was adopted by the U.S. Army in 1936, marking the beginning of the M1 Garand era. Springfield Armory commenced mass production in 1937, delivering the first batch of rifles in 1938, refining the design in the process. With the onset of World War II and growing global tensions, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company joined Springfield Armory in producing the M1 Garand. Their combined efforts ensured a steady supply of rifles to U.S. forces, contributing significantly to the war effort. By the war's end in 1945, over 4 million M1 rifles had been produced. The United States stood out for equipping its troops with an autoloading rifle as the standard infantry weapon, a strategic advantage praised by General George Patton. Post-World War II, the M1 Garand saw continued use. Many were stored or loaned to allies during the Cold War. The outbreak of the Korean War led to a resurgence in production to support U.S. and United Nations forces. The Korean War underscored the M1 Garand's reliability, with nearly 1.5 million new units produced by Springfield Armory, International Harvester Corporation, and Harrington and Richardson Arms between 1952 and 1957. In the 1950s, the search for a more advanced infantry rifle began, aiming for greater magazine capacity and selective fire capability. This led to the adoption of the M14 rifle in 1957, signaling the official obsolescence of the M1 Garand. Despite being surpassed by the M14, the M1 Garand remained in service globally through the Vietnam era, a testament to its enduring legacy and effectiveness as an infantry weapon. John C. Garand, the inventor of the M1, is celebrated for his contribution to military history. His work not only provided the U.S. forces with a significant advantage, but also solidified his place among the nation's most esteemed patriots. The M1 Garand's impact on military engagements and its innovative design have earned it the title of the #1 infantry rifle of all time, according to a 2008 article in NRA's American Rifleman magazine, a fitting tribute to a weapon that changed the course of history.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. Your host, AP for Liberty, is live. Glad to have you here. We appreciate all of our friends and even our haters joining us live this morning. Don't forget that people are allowed to voice their dissent in the chat. They can say that they don't like the Wake Up America show. They can say that they hope our show fails, like whoever this G0072 person is. Just complaining that we're like censoring people in the chat. We haven't censored anybody. Nobody's getting muted. You might if you continue to spew any profanity or if you're really being hostile. Your free speech is not being threatened by that because we are not the government, right? But every single comment that you make helps to grow the show and grow the channel. So just let them stew and help us to build the next generation of Liberty Media. My haters have always paid my bills, including my next hater joining us live on the Wake Up America show, Camelia Peterson. Good morning, CJ. How you doing, beautiful?
Good morning. That makes me think of, remember when I made that New Year's resolution to be nicer to you?
Yes, I do remember. I don't think you kept it, but it doesn't matter because I can't expect not to reap what I have sown.
That's true.
I'm supposed to be upset with Donald Trump. I'm supposed to rage against the dying of the light. I'm supposed to grab the nearest boomer and say, God bless America and save the babies and Donald Trump is wrong and all this one. But I'm not going to go with throw in with the anti-abortion industry. Trump is right. We pushed for a federalist approach to abortion by overturning Roe versus Wade, and he's making good points to me. Some people don't agree. Your take?
Yeah, I mean, I've long said, well, maybe not long because it's not been that long, but we are experiencing the consequences of getting what we wanted with overturning Roe v. Wade. And that means that now the fight comes back to the states. And for example, in states like Missouri, where we've had, super strict abortion laws. I mean, we've gotten as much as you can get as far as banning abortion. This is going to be really relitigated now at the polls, if they get the ballot measure on. And Ohio just saw this last fall where their ballot initiative, their very, pretty extreme ballot initiative that was pro-abortion passed in spite of, their best efforts. And, I had sent you, and I think that this really speaks to the problem with how we approach this. And I sent you something by JD Vance that he had commented on last fall, right after they had that loss with that pro-abortion initiative passing. And, he said that, last night was a gut punch, no sugarcoating it. And so he started talking about, and he had been heavily involved in this No on campaign one for that issue. And so he had a few insights that he shared, and they got creamed. It wasn't even close. They got creamed on that issue. And he saw, the consistently in the polling and in conversations that people would say, I don't like this pro-abortion issue that's on the ballot, but I'd rather have that extreme than the other extreme. And I think that we are seeing this in a lot of different areas right now. And so, he went on to talk about how how much voter mistrust there is, even, among elected Republicans, and how, we've kind of missed the human aspect of this issue and how scary having an unplanned pregnancy is. And that we needed to see, people need to see us as pro-life, not just anti-abortion. And so, and there's also the issue that Trump spoke to, that this is where the vast majority of voters are, is they do favor the exceptions that Trump mentioned. And so, that's another thing he talked about. And he said one of the other issues that he talked about was that we've spent so much time winning the legal argument on abortion that we've fallen behind on the moral argument. And this is something that I've been talking about lately, and that we have been saying, facts don't care about your feelings for so long that we have stopped trying to persuade people. And that element has been missing in the pro-life movement for many years now.
I was really pleased to hear his comments about in vitro fertilization. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I agree. What he said is this is a very conservative Republican position, that you want to encourage people to have families. You want to encourage people and make it easier for them to have babies. So why would we take away yet another option for doing that? And I understand that people have very good, arguments based on their religion for that. But at the end of the day, this is yet another tool that people have to be able to have those babies that they do want.
Do you think that the founding fathers and the early Americans, in the American Republic, mistrusted Catholics because of their tendency towards tyranny?
Maybe that's a good question.
Historically, it's not
right.
as if opposition from IVF isn't coming from the secular right. Opposition from IVF, it's coming from one very special interest of people who are anti-birth control, anti-abortion, and anti-in vitro fertilization. And while I may be anti-abortion, I'm not anti-contraception, and I'm certainly not anti-in vitro fertilization. So there's really only one group of people in this country who are insanely hostile to those things, and that's the Catholics.
Well, and I do think that this has I think that many of the issues in the Catholic Church have probably come about as a result of a lack of accountability. I mean, when you say that you're the leader of your entire, faith is infallible, even though he's a human, like, I mean, my apologies to all of my Catholic friends, but there's a problem there. And I know that not all, people who are practicing Catholics will, agree with that premise 100%. There's still a lot of disagreements, even within the Catholic Church itself. A lot of people don't like the current Pope. So, but that just kind of sets the foundation for, if you are unquestioningly one person's word for everything, and he is literally the voice of God, basically, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for trouble.
The vicar of Christ on earth, it's just, for a long time, there was a strong anti-Catholic sentiment in this country. And, it seems as if people, every time I turn around online, I see someone claiming that, libertarianism is incompatible with Catholicism. Well, and if one's got to go, it's certainly not going to be liberty in my mind. So there better be some kind of a reckoning made, just like there needs to be made with radical Islam, with the fundamentalist Islamic terrorists, because the ideology and philosophy of the Taliban is incompatible with American individualist libertarian principles, and therefore it's not wanted here. It's not welcome here. If your Catholicism requires you to adopt imperialism, then you can fuck off and go somewhere else and start a country somewhere else, because American individualist liberty is one of religious pluralism, religious liberty, and the right to not be religious if you want to be. We don't need a government that is of, by, and for one particular sect or religion. For that, you can go to Afghanistan or Iraq, or to countries where they want to enforce their Wahhabist rule over their people by a rule with an iron fist. It's incompatible with Americanism if you can say, on one hand, that just because you don't want to use birth control, no one else can use it as well. And it's time that somebody called it out.
Sure. And I think the authoritarianism is not limited to the Catholic Church by any means. It is especially highlighted on this issue.
But today they have my spear. We're not going to focus. I mentioned the Wahhabists, radical sects of Islam, right? We've already thrown a cluster bomb in their area, but I'm focusing specifically on those who are against in vitro fertilization and against birth control and want to outlaw it for the rest of us.
Well, and there is, I cannot remember what they call themselves now, but there is kind of a segment of Catholicism of people who really do believe that we should have a theocratic government. So they do exist. And I would say, this is not necessarily limited to Catholicism, that idea. It's just that, the other people of other faiths.
It is limited to Catholicism.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, there's no other Christian nationalism.
There's no other Christian sect that is against the use of birth control. There's no other Christian sect that is against in vitro fertilization that I'm aware of. The Baptists aren't against in vitro fertilization.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. I think there are people
within
those
uncomfortable
faiths
conversation. Did you think this was going to be a comfortable conversation today, Camelia? Did you think you were going to get away with that?
Never.
Okay, good to know. All right. Well, I'll back off of the Catholics there for just a moment. We can talk about in vitro fertilization more generally. I mean, Trump is making a political calculation. We can't.
Yes.
We cannot enact the most radical of anti-abortion reforms that would be proposed by those Catholics, and still win elections, and then still be able to enact our agenda in order to prevent there being abortions at 9 months. That's just political reality. It's something that Republicans need to accept. It's something that libertarians need to accept, isn't it?
Sure. And I will say this for Trump. He has been consistent on this issue. Like, he's not ever taken a stance that's different from this. I think he has skirted this issue in many ways before and been vague about it, but he has said things like this before. He was just much more explicit about it and about the details of that and the reasons why. And it's, interesting, he makes the Reagan comparison, and honestly, I'm not sure how long the Reagan comparisons are going to keep working for the right. But anyway,
Yeah, they don't. They're the less and less. I mean, they
right.
really, some. I think my buddy Ron Fitzwater, the mayor of Jefferson City, got up and was running to be the chair of the convention of the delegation last weekend, Camelia, and he got up and said, I was a former Democrat until Ronald Reagan brought me over to the Republican Party, and I was just kind of like, boy, both of those things are just really not going to help you today.
No, and I think part of that is like the further and further away we get from Reagan's presidency, the more people forget the context of, how he came in and what he actually did for the country. And so, and so many people they weren't there, they don't remember, so they don't have that firsthand experience, and they just are immersed in where they are now. I do think that, one of the things that Trump talked about, and you're right, he has to this is him strategically messaging to the middle. And because we know from polling, and what has happened, like in Ohio and other places, that, this is people's position, this is where they are, which is why, like Ohio, Missouri, they are gathering in Missouri, the pro-abortion people are gathering signatures to put a very extreme measure on the ballot. There was somebody who was working on an effort for a more moderate measure. And I'm here to tell you, I think people may regret that woman pulled out of that, because if the people in Missouri, kind of like we did with marijuana, if they decide we'd rather have this extreme than the opposite, like they did in Ohio, then that's what we're going to have. And I don't know, maybe that's, a necessary reality check for the pro-life movement. But the one thing that Trump said that I very much disagree with, and it was one thing I know that some people took issue with from his speech, was that this whole idea of follow your heart, like follow your heart, do what's best for yourself, your family. And okay, and I get it, I get what he's trying to say, but it kind of was the idea where he went a little too far into like, follow your heart, not your morals. So
every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is great.
Oh my gosh.
If a sperm is wasted, God gets quite irate.
Is this an actual song? Or are you making this up?
Oh no, it's an actual song.
Oh my.
It's an actual song, Monty Python, Life of Brian. It's kind of like poking. They're poking fun at the Catholics who will have like 150.
That makes total sense now. Okay.
Yes. If a sperm is wasted, God gets quite irate. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm speaking to Camelia Peterson. She's an S-O-N. I'm Austin Peterson with an S-E-N. We are not related, but we are good, close friends. And she's a big supporter of the show, and she joins us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. So if you like the conversation with Camelia, make sure you come back and join me and Auntie C on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. Camelia, last weekend, went to my Republican caucus, was part of the delegation there from Cole County, did my best to represent the people of Cole County to the best of my ability, for whom I was duly elected as a delegate. By the end of the day, I won't say I lost total faith in democracy or the future of the Republican Party. I do realize that this is just mid-Missouri counties and all, but Camelia, we're in danger, girl.
Well, I would say that, what you experienced is probably an excellent argument against democracy.
Yes.
And why we have a representative republic. And I was telling you, I talked to somebody yesterday that I had not realized, somebody I love in the grassroots movement. I've known for a while, and I hadn't realized that he was there. And he started talking about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are in the same place. And he was just railing on the state of the grassroots movement right now. And and I guess, it shows how important it is for people. I'm so glad that you have gotten involved in that, because I think, voices like yours are very needed. And I've been telling people over the last year, I feel like I've been getting dragged kicking and screaming back to the party, because there's just so much that is wrong. And there are a lot of good people in there who are still trying to do the reasonable, rational things to make, pragmatic progress, towards more liberty. And it is so derailed by the people who have come in who are gung-ho and on fire and want to do something, but then they're talking about chemtrails. And I'm sorry, but that's not going to get us anywhere.
God, that was so funny too. And I was really excited to be able to get up. I was sad that Bill Eigel had left at that point because I really wanted to pin the blame on him as an Air Force veteran and talk about and point him because it was mostly the Eigel people who were out there like freaking out about the chemtrails. And I just wanted to be like, Eigel's an Air Force veteran. He's in on it. Eigel, I want you to tell us right now, how many of our neighbors here did you spray when you got up in those airplanes with the poisonous chemicals? And I mean, obviously that was just embarrassing, but I mean, that was embarrassing and dumb. But then there were plenty of measures that were taken that were opposed to our individual rights and complete misunderstandings of even like our Second Amendment rights and things, because police officers got up and said they were scared. So they were like, well, let's not put this gun language is a little too strong. And I'm kind of like, screw that. I'm voting for it. I'm voting for the strong gun legislation. You can fight me back, but it's kind of like, the special interests that operate within the GOP operate on the local level as much as they do on like the state and national level.
Sure. I mean, it's not like it's not limited to establishment, right?
Yes. But you know what my real lesson that I learned is that like, if you really want to win in those situations, you got to play dirty. Like you cannot appeal to people's patriotism. You cannot appeal to people's sense of their love of liberty or their love of country. That will go on deaf ears. What you got to do is you got to crawl up behind them and you got to slit their throats. And how you do that is, for example, when the proposal was made to say we will ban the sale of uranium to all foreign nations, the whole delegation, I could tell which way a vote was going to go based on how everybody like chitter chattered, like, like kind of like in agreement or like if it was positive, right, versus negative. I could tell how the crowd would go based on how they sounded. So I knew that everybody at the delegation were all going to vote for that because they were like, oh my God, uranium, nuclear weapons, foreign nations, bad, right? So they're all going to do it. So I just stood up and I said, that would include sale of uranium to our ally Israel. And then all of a sudden it was like the whole delegation went from positive on it to negative, and they voted it down.
So would this apply to, I mean, can you use the same argument for the foreign land ownership in Missouri issue as well?
I should have done that as well. But I learned my lesson a little bit too late. Right. And then I should have done the same thing when it came to the gambling question. I was like, first of all, President Trump, one of his major aspects of his business has been gambling, for those of you who don't know. And if Donald Trump comes to this state and wants to build a casino at the Lake of the Ozarks, are you going to tell him no? And pointed at the lady with the Trump hat. Are you going to tell him he can't build a casino at the Lake of the Ozarks? So I'm going to send this to Donald Trump if you say no. You know what I mean? Name and shame and sneak up behind them and slit their throat. That's how you do if you want to win. You cannot appeal to people's sense of patriotism or their love of freedom because it's just not there.
It's just depressing, right? I mean, you have to appeal to their sense of fear, and I hate that. Like we should not like. It just goes against everything in me. But I would say that
I hate it too.
People who are willing to put the time and who are motivated to work within the party, I think that you get a disproportionate amount of those type of people because, and the gambling issue is an example of this, because you have all of these people who are in the party structure itself, when we talk about central committees and things like this, who are like, no gambling, and we get legislators that come in and get no gambling. But when you poll Missourians at large, overwhelmingly, like I'm talking like over 75% of people want to legalize sports betting. There is a serious disconnect. And I think that that's what's really hard, especially for those of us who are in this all the time. It's really hard to remember that we are kind of in this bubble where we hear the sound and fury all the time, but it's not actually the reality of what the general populace believes. And so, but I mean, the challenge for us is like, how do we get, everybody else, normal people living their lives? How do we get them, engaged in that so that their voices, become at least as loud, or louder than the fringe minority?
freedom is too important to not engage and use the tactics that are necessary to defend it. For too long, I have had rose-colored glasses, but now the scales have fallen from my eyes, and I see the fight that's from me. And I'm not above a good scrap. I'm not above a good fist fight. And so, I go to the state convention later this month, and or I guess the beginning of next month, and I look forward to fighting for those same ideals. Hopefully, on a statewide level, the cream will rise to the top, and we'll have less crazy and a little bit more conservative, right? With people who kind of understand the issues, but I have no idea what to expect.
I would like to assure you of that. I think it will be partially true, but just because I'm in like the grassroots in a lot of different parts of the state, I wouldn't take that for granted. But when you said you have to get your hands dirty, it just reminds me, a few months ago, I was talking to somebody who's in the legislature, somebody who's very, also very liberty-minded, one of us. And, I was trying to figure out like what direction I needed to go on things. And so he was suggesting something that he felt like I needed to do. He said, the problem is that we get people who are liberty-minded people and they get involved and they only go so far because they don't want to have to get their hands dirty. And so then they don't really stay in it long enough to get anything accomplished because of that, that purism and that idealism. And
in part two, because it's boring. I had to sit
well,
down.
Right.
I had to sit for hours listening to these people argue over the most dumb stuff and just sit there and just pretend like I was not, not annoyed by everything that was happening. I was doing my absolute best to just kind of like listen to people and many of these people are my neighbors. And so I'm trying to be patient and all this kind of stuff. So I can imagine a lot of people just get frustrated and just bored to death by the parliamentary process.
Somebody on Twitter, like when we were talking about this the other day, said, are they making it intentionally, dry and dull, for people?
Sometimes.
And I'm like, maybe, but, I'm like, this is also just like the business of things. And it doesn't matter if it's church business or if it's a corporation or if it's, a political organization, like the business part of things is just, it's not always very exciting.
I know.
It just is what it is.
Camelia, anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you go?
Well, I will leave you with this because, I am an idealist in many ways, but I have, I have become much more a pragmatist. And so I consider myself a pragmatic libertarian, which means that sometimes, I think we have to take some compromises to gain ground toward liberty. And it was, I would leave my fellow idealists with this thought is that, it is, if we sacrifice progress in pursuit of perfection, we will sit here and stagnate in the status quo. And we have to be willing, we're seeing this kind of in some current education legislation in Missouri. And, I'm just tired of dealing with the purists who, with their moral superiority and living in their ivory towers of idealism. I've been there and I've done that. And telling people that they have to wait longer to get more liberty until, it looks just right to us. And so I think that
happen.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Yep. We just need to keep working and getting what we can.
Follow Camelia over on X at Rare Camelia. She is a very rare camellia. Hope you're enjoying spring and all the beautiful bees, Camelia. I guess the chemtrails now are helping to increase the population this year.
Of course.
Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you very much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Camelia Peterson. Give her a round of applause. Yes. Did you guys see Stephanie's new video yesterday? Hustling and homemaking, hustling and bustling. She's got a quick little 4.5-minute video called Housewife Hacks for all you tradwives or tradwife wannabes out there. Stephanie Peterson has got the second episode of her brand new show, Housewife Hacks. You don't want to miss it. Fun and fast chore secrets. You can check out that video over at ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. All right, well, we already know that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. But let's talk to an above-average man. He calls himself a hillbilly and a redneck, though. He's one of us. We'll talk to him when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
damn croup.
You got the croup? Okay. See here. All right. Well, I went to the convention last weekend, the delegation where Ron Fitzwater should have been the guy who ran the show, and the absolute cuckoo go nuts, crazy pants, Bill Eigel supporters thrust this Bob Eno character on us, who I don't know who he is. I'm sure maybe he's a fine fellow, but he just as soon as he got elected, they ran Ron Fitzwater out on a rail. And then as soon as this Bob Eno character got elected, he disappeared. And then he left it for the secretary to run the whole meeting the whole damn day. And it was just a absolute shit show. I was the
savvy of Eigel to become an elector.
I was the only vote for Ron Fitzwater in Cole County. It was me, one, and then 13 no votes. I was the only one to vote for Ron.
Well, you show up at the dance with the crowd, and it kind of, I thought it was very savvy of Eigel to become an elector, though, because I think Trump would not care at all who the governor is here. One of whoever is the governor's going to say he's the greatest and nonstop.
Expansive time. A year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to wake up America. For memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados avocados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Please do click that like button. Nice to see everybody here. Follow the channel if it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show. This show streams live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show's schedule. So if you click the follow button, come back here and join us tomorrow morning. You'll enjoy even more of the content that you've been seeing today. So if you're over on x.com, where I can see there's a few hundred people joining us there as well, click the little heart button that you see underneath the tweet, and then repost it, share it in your timeline so more people can join us and hear more about the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. Will those ideas make it through the 2024 election? Well, they didn't survive the delegation this weekend, so I don't know, maybe I'm not so optimistic about this fall. Maybe I should be. The polls between Donald Trump and Joe Biden are tightening. Let's talk to a man who's well, I guess the insider's outsider or an outsider's insider. We'll let him explain to yourself. He's just a redneck, poor redneck, former mayor of Poplar Bluff, where that eclipse went through yesterday. How are you doing there, Scott?
I have an innie. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but mine's an innie.
So did you go to Poplar Bluff yesterday to see the eclipse?
I did not. I had to do the actual libertarian thing and work. I actually forgot the damn thing happened. I'll be honest with you. I was about to be. It was about 2:00 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming back from lunch about 1:30. It looked a little dark, but then I got on the phone. I forgot all about it.
Stephanie and I were sleeping as well. That's nap time in the Peterson house. So thanks for joining us, Scott. I'd be curious to get your take on the tightening of the polls between Trump and Biden. He was leading in those battleground states. Now Biden's starting to close the gap, but he gives that huge student loan forgiveness plan to try and shore up the young people. Where do you see the political map at this point?
What poll do you trust? Is there a harder job in the world right now than polling? I mean, I almost think the methodology, because it's never the same methodology that's correct twice, I think somebody just gets lucky. I think their methodology, wasn't the methodology in a poll. I think they just happen to throw the numbers out there by their methodology, happens to be right that time out of sheer damn luck. I'll tell you this. Do I think Donald Trump can be reelected president of the United States again? Not without a couple interesting factors. Number one, I just think that while Trump is the first or second or third story of the day every day, it's one thing. But by October, when he's the top three stories every day, I think people are going to get sick of him. And I honestly think it's much his fault. His best friends are the folks in the media. His best friends were when Twitter banned him. I think too much Trump, he'll take enough rope and hang himself. I think the only thing that could probably change that is $4 gas. When you have $4 gas, everything you buy, every single thing you buy, even stuff you rent goes up. $4 gas, I think that'll be better than any war in Ukraine or Gaza. I think anybody really cares about that. When it comes right down to it, you have $4 gas and the inflation that will come from that. I think Trump could be president again.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's a lot to unpack. I mean, so the factors that would bring Trump back to the White House, you think are factors beyond his control?
Totally. I think Donald Trump's going to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I don't think has the capacity to change his approach or to moderate a little bit or really. I mean, Donald Trump's the last thing from a conservative, but his approach is very caustic and angry. I don't think he can come off softer. I think when he does, it's joking. He's got a great sense of humor. He is the world's greatest politician. I just don't know that what he's selling will be bought when it's just in your face all the time. I think people get a little tired of the chaos.
We're speaking to Scott Fawn. He is the host of This Week in Missouri Politics and also the benefactor of this show. This is his studio that he donates time to us kindly in the morning. So please do click that like button for Scott Fawn and his support of the Wake Up America show, which we are very grateful for. On the Missouri level, Scott, we're looking at the state convention. I just had the delegation. We talked about that a little bit during the break, the delegation that I went to this weekend. And it seems as if we sort of are replacing competence with crazies a little bit.
Sure.
Like I would like to see a Republican Party that's radical in policy, but conservative in approach, meaning that we have regular order, we have competent people or public officials. Our buddy Ron Fitzwater got outvoted here and like by the people in his local district. And it just seems as if we're kind of like, I don't know. How do we have a party that's competent but actually advances the kind of policies that people like myself and others, Camellia and others, would like to see? I mean, how do we square that circle?
Well, it's an unfortunate thing, and I'm not sure it's about to do with the party. I think it's about to do with our culture. We want what we want right now. I mean, it's funny. I think you're seeing some of these states. Kansas was one before us. You do conservatism, but you do it poorly because you want these huge sweeping things to happen. Well, frankly, normally it's better to plan something, implement it over time, and then you can see a lot of great results. But whatever I'm a conservative because I don't think you need to change stuff radically. I mean, honestly, conservatism didn't start off with small government. The word means you have a liberal that wants to radically do things, and you have a conservative that wants to maybe we develop or evolve very slowly and deliberately. I think most of the time, frankly, the slow, deliberate pace isn't the sexy one that gets you a like on the internet, but it's one that actually works. Because what you get now, you get lurching from policy. Because when this policy is radically implemented, it goes back, it goes poorly. Then people swing to the other side. They're going to be in there. People aren't conservative. They're not liberal. They're self-interested. And if they think their self-interest is served by conservatism, they'll come over here. Most people are not principled. They don't walk around quoting Thomas Jefferson or whatever. They walk around thinking what time, what happened for breakfast. Now they're thinking about what for lunch. They're thinking where they can take the kids. I think those folks will vote in their self-interest. And if that be as liberal, they'll vote liberal. They voted Democrat. They voted conservative in Missouri for 150 since the Civil War. But it was whether Democrats were conservative or Republicans. I think Republicans have become radicalized because we've become such a big party here. We have to bring the suburban people in, and the suburban people are crazy. My God. And they whine. Oh, God, they whine.
Okay, Camellia, you're in the chat. Do me a favor. Please pull Scott's quote from that where he said, people aren't liberal or conservative, they're self-interested. I think that is a very powerful quote. Make sure you tag Scott and me, and I'll repost it. Speaking of Scott Fawn, the host of This Week in Missouri Politics right now, a little bit about national and state politics. Can I talk to you about the Missouri governor's race? Because I see, we got this three-way race between Jay Ashcroft, Mike Kehoe, and Bill Eigel. Ashcroft and Eigel sort of are fishing in the same pond, would you say? And then you have Kehoe, who's kind of like a fish of their own. How would you sort of handicap this race?
Well, I mean, obviously, the gold standard in this race would be a Trump endorsement. I thought maybe Kehoe could buy it. I mean, I bet you that thing. Let's be honest, it's for sale. It's just, and Mike Kehoe's a deal cutter. Could Jay Ashcroft get his dad to have somebody buy it or influence it? Maybe. And Bill Eigel kind of fundraised off his name, so he probably. And I know there's been a lot of checks written to Donald Trump from Bill Eigel for his legal defense. So Bill Eigel comes in though, and I don't think Trump cares which one of his devotee supporters is governor, but he might care who's senator or who's an elector. And you all elected him to be the elector from the 3rd district. He would have standing in court maybe to challenge an election that Trump loses. I think we both know if Trump loses the election, like he lost the last one, probably in for a bunch of drama. And Bill Eigel could be valuable to him. Well, I bet he cares a lot more about that than he does about who the governor of Missouri is. But I think it's an interesting race. Bill Eigel has the message. He's the best interview. He's the best on the stump. He can't get the money. He cannot get the money to bust out of the. I've done a lot of research. About 50 to 60,000 people, and that'll grow towards an election year that care about Missouri politics. Of those 50 to 60,000, Bill has his share. If you're mad, if you want to blame people, if you're upset, if you like to say they a lot, they kept me down, they did this to me, he's your guy. He knows how to tap into that base, and there's a much bigger base out there. He just really hasn't got outside that funnel of people that care. Kehoe has the money to do it. Ashcroft has the name. In an era where Donald Trump has done nothing but slash and burn every institution, opens up to tear that name down. Jay Ashcroft is not the most suave politician. Mike Kehoe's great. Probably the best prepared person to be governor of Missouri since Forrest Donald, probably. And we're talking 70, 80 years ago. The thing about Kehoe is Republican voters are mad. I don't even think they know what they're mad about. I don't even think it's not a policy.
You're right.
I don't think they even care. They're just mad. And Mike Kehoe is a successful guy with a beautiful wife, several successful children. He built himself up from nothing to be where he is. he doesn't walk around mad. Mad is not his default. Jay Ashcroft really isn't either, but Jay can be almost awkward enough that it can come off mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bill Eigle's playing a role and he plays it masterfully. Mike Keogh
He is angry. Eigel is playing the angry
I
card.
think Eigel is angry because he never won a leadership post where he could be in charge. I'll give you another. If Bill Eigel was governor, he would take it very seriously. He would piss off a lot of the people that love him the most right now. Bill Eigel, if he was in charge, would take it seriously. He wouldn't just be a flake. He would talk like a flake. He would do everything he do to convince you he's nuts, like every Republican does now. But he wouldn't actually do things that don't add up. He would be a good steward of the state of Missouri. I just think Kehoe doesn't have Bill's ability. I mean, look at Eric Schmidt. He did a fantastic ability. He was like Terminator. He was one thing, then he morphed back into something else. That is a real skill that Eigel has that I don't know that Kehoe has. Can he get around it? Can his consultants put him in some light to look angry? I think to win this race, you've got to connect with that angry part. And then every 5 votes Bill Eigel gets, 4 come from Jay Ashcroft. So can together they push Jay down enough? I think the beneficiary of that's Kehoe.
Speak to us about another race that we're looking at here in Missouri. That's in our district here, mid-Missouri, the Bob Onder versus Kurt Schaefer race. It seems there's a big difference between those two candidates.
Like what?
Well, Bob Onder strikes me as much more of a provincial conservative type, whereas
like angrier.
Well, perhaps like just kind of more in line with the traditional conservative base versus Kurt Schaefer, who's kind of like more of a city lawyer type. You know what I mean? Not as in
Bob's a city lawyer. He was on the city council.
It's not but
one of those little small towns.
At least the perception. You tell me. You tell me.
Bob's a lawyer. Okay. I think Bob was an alderman in, I think Old Borson, where the country club is at one time. I mean, I don't see the difference on the issues at all. I think they're both going to go probably vote with leadership most of the time, but they'll probably pick their issues to stray off on. Bob is angrier and better at articulating that anger. I think Bob has a better feel for where your primary voter's at than Kurt. But we haven't seen Kurt run a primary since 2016. So, and he was against so much East Coast money in that race against Hawley. I mean, Hawley that guy knows rich people on the East Coast, and they're willing to write a check for him. And Kurt Schaefer was the first person that took that on the chin. Kurt's an attack dog, though. He's a mean dude. I mean, him and Bob, this is gonna be the nastiest race of all time. They both go for the jugular type guys. I think it comes down to this. The districts 52-48, Central Missouri, and then St. Louis. And so Central Missouri folks are going to have a tie to their guy. They're going to want now. The problem is you live here. Is Columbia Central Missouri, or is it just Columbia? I'm not sure folks in Osage County don't dislike Columbia more than they do St. Louis because they never see St. Louis people. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see if a Columbia guy can unite Central Missouri against a guy from St. Louis. I think Bob's brother could fund that race and never miss the money. I think Bob will have all the money. I think Bob is a better politician than Kurt. And they're all going to say the same stuff, except I haven't seen Kurt attack Bob yet. Bob, he wakes up attacking somebody for something, right? I haven't seen Kurt attack Bob. So how effective that attack is may tell the tale.
There's a very attractive Latina woman in St. Louis who burns books and goes jogging and posts very angry videos on X at twitter.com. She's running for Secretary of State. Is there any chance that Missouri is about to get a smoking hot Latina as Secretary of State?
Well, I love her videos. I've just learned to keep them on mute. Because he said the Goldard is dumbest things. But she is very compelling. She's energetic. I think she's fun. I mean, I don't think she has any chance at all to win that race. But I mean, who's going to write a check to the person making the videos? But I think she's fun. I like her. I'm glad she's running. I hope she runs for something else in the future. And good for her. But if you want to really enjoy the videos, just leave them on mute.
How would you break down the Missouri Secretary of State race otherwise, though? I mean, you've got our friend Mary Elizabeth Coleman. I mean, this is like everybody and their brother is running for Secretary of State here in Missouri. So,
a 6-way primary. Shane Schuler from Southwest Missouri, he has a base of support. I don't know that Shane can grow much out of his base, but with 6 people, the number you need to win may come down to his base. Dean Plogger's got 1.5 million. He'll probably have 2 by the time it's done. That'll be the most in this race by a lot. I say the Singville people cut Mary Elizabeth a check if I had to guess. That'll make her viable. Denny Hoskins is viable. He's got a lot of he's worked on that right-wing support. But sometimes that comes with a consultant game. So you hire the right consultant, all of a sudden all these activists are for you. You got Adam Schwadron, good guy. He I didn't see much in the campaign. Then he started raising money, raised $100,000 in one check. He keeps that donor engaged. If Dean has 2 million though, you almost get in the territory you can buy it.
Really? That's fascinating. We're speaking to Scott Fawn. He is the host of This Week in Missouri Politics, and he is the owner of the Missouri Times, where we broadcast this show, the Wake Up America show from. Let's give him a round of applause, of course, to be grateful. Without Scott, the Wake Up America show would not be what it is. So please do click that like button and show your support for Scott Fawn. He's a insider's outsider, outsider's insider. He calls himself just a poor redneck hillbilly from Poplar Bluff, Missouri, former mayor of that town. And he's joining us live right now talking about national and Missouri politics. So any predictions for this fall for the outcome on a statewide level? If you had to kind of like give, not what you think should happen, but what do you think will happen?
Well, we have an abortion issue in the state.
Yes.
If that's put on in August, I think from right to work to other things, voters forget all of that what they did in August by November. There's little to no carryover. We all get our news on our phones now. So the abortion issue will stay alive because the two places the media cares about, Los Angeles and New York, they will still have they'll have the issue stoked up. It'll be part of their narratives for Democrats. They'll want that message out there. If the abortion issue is on the ballot here in Missouri, I'd say Democrats pick up 2 Senate seats, probably half a dozen state house seats. I will say that Crystal Quaid will cut the amount she loses to into single digits. Lucas Coons still gets blown away.
Hey, Scott, anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners or plug before we let you go?
This Week in Missouri Politics, TWMP.tv. We're all over the state, but give us a look. And your listeners are pretty savvy media folks. If they give us a look, shoot me a text. Let me know we can do a little better. We're always interested in feedback.
There you go. Thank you very much, Scott Fawn. Give him a round of applause. Good stuff. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
We look forward to seeing you again real soon. All right. Well, if you've been enjoying the Wake Up America show's content, then you definitely don't want to miss my final word when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Don't go away.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad and thankful to have you here. Have you clicked that like button yet? What's wrong with you? Come on, hit it now. And hit the follow button if you know what's good for you. Erd's mommy says she's all right. She's off to be somewhat productive. Y'all have a great day. You can't leave yet.
God! No! God,
Show's not
please,
done.
No! No!
Sarah for Liberty joining us live. Quest Fanning, Corey and Callie, Rare Camellia, Kermode Bear, Robbie Theraman. Look, it's Liz. Nice to see you all here today. We appreciate it. Somniferum 75 as well. The Wake Up America show is brought to you by viewers and listeners just like you. Did you guys enjoy Scott Vaughn? Well, did you like Camellia Peterson? Did you like Devin Erickson? Do you like the guests that you get on the Wake Up America show? I think being cheesy. Putting the Wake Up America show together every single day requires courage, it requires toughness and fortitude and a lot of patience. Have much patience and experiencing that pain of waking up at 4:30 a.m. But since you all are live joining me this morning, I know you guys are morning people as well, so give it up for yourself. The morning crew, we are special, are we not? Don't forget, check out Stephanie's new show, Hustling and Homemaking. The second episode dropped yesterday of Hustling and Homemaking, some trad wife tips for how to clean and not get bored, doing your chores without getting bored. It's a great concept. You can see that video at the very top of apforlibertyshop.com. And if you haven't already checked out our brand new glassware collection, you've got to see it. It's absolutely beautiful. A stained glass collection for the ages. So exclusively at apforlibertyshop.com, the founding fathers immortalized in beautiful stained glass on wine, whiskey, and even cutting boards. Steffi made those. Very pretty. Let's see if I can pull them up for you. Shot glasses as well with our first presidents there, Thomas Jefferson, and including Benjamin Franklin as well. Whiskey glasses, wine glasses, and beautiful stained glass George Washington cutting board. Imagine you preparing dinner for some friends for a dinner party, or maybe even using it like a charcuterie plate, and people come over to your house for dinner and you're serving them all these delicious meats on top of George Washington's beautiful stained glass visage. You can only get this exclusively designed for the AP for Liberty shop by my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson. Give it up for Steffi. Again, her newest video at the very top of apforlibertyshop.com. So you are going to want to view it. All right. Joe Biden gives away all of our money, student loans. Big story today. Obviously, it's a way to buy votes for this fall, and it's something that we'll keep an eye on, and I imagine that we're going to see a lot of lawsuits, and the Supreme Court might have to step in again. Then Camellia Peterson talks about Donald Trump's stance on abortion, which is to leave it to the states, which is controversial among Republicans, but is probably another good, bold election move. Then Scott Vaughn comes in, breaks down all of what's happening in Missouri politics, and that helps all of our Missouri listeners, because I know we do have a lot of Missouri listeners who are keen to hear what's happening in Mo politics, where you've got to show me. You guys unlock today's bonus content. The guns that won, the M1 Garand. Real quick, just so you know, FYI, I'm going on vacation this Friday, taking a 3-day vacation. Don't be too disappointed. Stephanie and me heading to Washington, D.C. We're going to head out there for the Cherry Blossom Festival, celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our trip to Japan, hang out with some friends. We will have a show on Thursday, but we're going to be out on Friday. I'm going to probably do a replay so that you guys can all hang out together and have a morning chat, but it's going to be a replay of last week's show, last Friday, Freedom Family Friday. So if you'd like to hang out with the crew, they'll still be here on Friday because I'm going to do the replay for you guys so you guys can hang out. Aren't I sweet? Aww. Don't you love me? I'm glad you like it. All right, so again, we'll be out on Friday, but we've still got a few more days of great content to go, so you don't want to miss it. We'll be back tomorrow morning on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Bye, guys.
Wake Up America show's bonus content series, The Guns That Won. We look at the firearms that built the American Republic. Today's gun highlights the history of the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand, an iconic American invention, traces its roots back to 1888 when Hiram Maxim invented the machine gun, inspiring arms designers worldwide. The challenge of adapting autoloading for rifles due to the powerful cartridges led to a long journey of innovation. After World War I, the U.S. Army sought a reliable autoloading infantry rifle, a quest that proved difficult as many designs either failed under stress or were impractically heavy. This period of trial and error highlighted the need for a durable yet manageable weapon. John Cantius Garand, a Canadian-born inventor, emerged with a promising design. Employed by the Springfield Armory, he embarked on developing a rifle that used propellant gases for cycling, a concept that would revolutionize infantry rifles. Garand's innovative design was adopted by the U.S. Army in 1936, marking the beginning of the M1 Garand era. Springfield Armory commenced mass production in 1937, delivering the first batch of rifles in 1938, refining the design in the process. With the onset of World War II and growing global tensions, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company joined Springfield Armory in producing the M1 Garand. Their combined efforts ensured a steady supply of rifles to U.S. forces, contributing significantly to the war effort. By the war's end in 1945, over 4 million M1 rifles had been produced. The United States stood out for equipping its troops with an autoloading rifle as the standard infantry weapon, a strategic advantage praised by General George Patton. Post-World War II, the M1 Garand saw continued use. Many were stored or loaned to allies during the Cold War. The outbreak of the Korean War led to a resurgence in production to support U.S. and United Nations forces. The Korean War underscored the M1 Garand's reliability, with nearly 1.5 million new units produced by Springfield Armory, International Harvester Corporation, and Harrington and Richardson Arms between 1952 and 1957. In the 1950s, the search for a more advanced infantry rifle began, aiming for greater magazine capacity and selective fire capability. This led to the adoption of the M14 rifle in 1957, signaling the official obsolescence of the M1 Garand. Despite being surpassed by the M14, the M1 Garand remained in service globally through the Vietnam era, a testament to its enduring legacy and effectiveness as an infantry weapon. John C. Garand, the inventor of the M1, is celebrated for his contribution to military history. His work not only provided the U.S. forces with a significant advantage, but also solidified his place among the nation's most esteemed patriots. The M1 Garand's impact on military engagements and its innovative design have earned it the title of the #1 infantry rifle of all time, according to a 2008 article in NRA's American Rifleman magazine, a fitting tribute to a weapon that changed